5.7, we're going to be graphing and solving quadratic inequalities. Alright, let's face it, okay? When we're doing this, very simply put, you can use your calculator to graph. Yeah, you could do graphing by hand, let's face it. Of course you could, alright? But if we want to do graphing by hand, it's just going to take a little while. And there's nothing wrong with it taking a little while, but what I want to show you is a little trick here to get the points on your calculator. So this is what I want you to do. On your graphing calculator, go to y equals. Okay. Press clear to clear everything out. Alright, and now here's what I want you to do. Just type in this stuff on your calculator. Just type in that stuff. So that stuff, this right here is this key, the X, T, theta, N button. So press that in, so you get an X. The squared key is right above the log. It's right by the 7, so just press the squared. Then it's plus. Alright, then it's plus 2. Then press this key again for X and minus 3. So press 2x minus 3. When you have all that in, press graph. Now you can see what the graph looks like. A rough sketch of the graph, it kind of looks like this. That's a rough sketch. Okay, so now that we know how to get there, now this is what I want you to do. Go to second graph for me. Go to second and graph. See how you have a list of points there? Let's get some negative points and let's get some positive points. So let's go at -4. If you look at -4, you can press up or down to get to those. -4, 5 is a point. -3, 0 is a point. -2, -3 is a point. -1, -4 is a point. 0, -3 is a point. 1, 0 is a point. 2, 5 is a point, and we can stop there. My point is, let's graph them, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a point. -1, 2, 3, 0. -2, -1, 2, 3. 0, -1, 2, 3. -1, -4. Forgot that one. And you can probably already see the pattern and see where the points are going. So there's all the points for my curve. Great, awesome, wonderful. Except before you start connecting these, remember what this means? This means it is a dashed line. So I need to connect them with a dashed line. So even though your graphing calculator doesn't have a dashed line, keep that in mind. It's not perfect. Graphing calculators aren't perfect, okay? This is a dashed line. We need to figure out how to shade this. Now I need to shade the graph. So I pick a point that's not on that graph. 0, 0 is not in that graph. So I plug in a 0 everywhere. Basically, here's what I end up getting. Is 0 greater than -3? The rule is, if it's true, you shade towards the point. So is that true? You betcha that's true. That means I shade everything inside right here. And there is that line graphed. Alright, to graph that one, go to y equals and press clear. Get rid of all that junk. So press the 2. Remember x, t, and theta and n, that's your x key. Then go to squared, which is right above the log, plus 4x minus 1. And when you press graph, a rough sketch has your line going like this as a rough sketch. Alright, if you press second and graph, we can get a list of your points. So go to second graph. Alright, the first point that's plottable is -3, 5, then -2, -1, then -1, -3, then 0, -1, then 1, 5. So let's plot those points. -3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -2, -1. -1, -3. 0, -1. 1, 5. Because this is greater than or equal to, because we have a bar underneath it, that means it's a solid line. So I connect this with a solid line. Okay. Now I need to pick a point not on that line. Okay, well, I know that 0, 0 is not on that line. Okay, 0, negative 1 is, so I pick 0, 0 again. I plug a 0 in here. That cancels out. That cancels out. So is 0 greater than negative 1? That is true. So I shade towards the point, and that point, 0, 0, is right inside here. So that means I shade all of that on the inside. Alright, go to graph this one. I go to y equals and press clear to get rid of all that. The negative sign is right below the 3, so type in a negative. The x, t, theta, n, that is the key for x, so press that. Then squared minus 5x minus 6 and press graph. And notice how your graph kind of looks like this. Okay, so let's find some exact points to graph that. So some exact points. Go to second graph. You have your list of points there. And the highest point I can graph is negative 5, negative 6. The next one is negative 4, negative 2, negative 3, 0, negative 2, 0, negative 1, negative 2, 0, negative 6. And that's it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is right there. Negative 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 2, negative 3, 0, negative 2, 0, negative 1, negative 2, and 0, negative 6. Now once again, keep in mind parabolas never go straight across. So what that means is I can still connect it with a curve, but this means dashed. So I need to create a dashed line here. And I'm supposed to be connecting all these, obviously, as you can see how good I am at connecting these. So there's my dashed line. I picked the point 0, 0. Right there it is, right? So there's 0, 0. When I plug it in, I get a 0 on the outside. I get a 0 there, a 0 there, and a negative 6. Is 0 greater than negative 6? If it's true, I shade towards, which means you shade the outside. I don't shade the inside, I shade the outside. So I shade everything on the outside, not the inside of the parabola, everything on the outside. That's what I shade in there. Alright, doesn't matter if it's fractions, but just so you know how to type that in correctly, go to y equals, and whenever you have a fraction, let's clear it out here. Whenever you have a fraction, type it in parentheses. So type it like this, parentheses 1 divided by 2, end parentheses x squared, and go from there. So it should be parentheses 1 divided by 2, end parentheses x squared minus 2x minus 2. And when you go to graph, notice how your graph is really wide because it's a fraction. The wider it is because it's a fraction. So keep in mind that's kind of what your graph looks like. So when you go to second graph, we take a look at our points. And the first point we can graph is negative 3, 8.5, negative 2, 4, negative 1.5, 0, negative 2, 1, negative 3.5, 2, negative 4, 3, negative 3.5, 4.5. Let's start graphing some of these points. Let's see what we have here. Negative 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.5 is right there. Negative 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 is right there. Negative 1 and 0.5. 0, negative 2. 1 and negative 3.5. 2 and negative 4. And then that's when it starts going back up. So just follow the pattern, and you can see where the rest of your points would be located. So there's your graph, You follow the pattern, and we connect them with a dotted line. Why? Why a dotted line? Anyone remember to tell me? No, no. Okay, with dotted line because that is greater than. There is no line underneath it. Pick a point not on the line. 0, 0. So that means 0 is greater than. That's 0, that's 0, and negative 2. Is that true? The answer is correct. So there it is. True is your answer. So I shade towards the point, everything in between. And when I come back, we will figure out how to solve quadratic inequalities.